May we please have, sorry, there's no public comment for closed session items
Nothing on email.
in the room, nothing on email. May we please have a roll call?
Trustee Jackson Miller.
Here.
Trustee Donnelly.
Present.
Trustee Gray.
Here.
Trustee Edmondson.
Present.
And Trustee Dickinson will be joining us shortly.
Thank you. All right, the board is convening to closed session. I prepared.
Yeah.
Oh, look at, oh my gosh.
It looked like it's like- There you go.
Okay, thank you, thank you. All right, welcome, everybody. I would like to call open session to order. May we please have the Pledge of Allegiance?
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Carlo Albano. I'm principal of Santa Cruz Gardens, and I'm here to introduce the wonderful Gwendolyn Mooring is here on behalf of Santa Cruz Gardens as a wonderful representative of our wonderful dolphin pod. And yes, on this wonderful evening, with all of this rain, giving all this quenching to our plants and trees, and the season's turning into deep fall, we want to just give a wonderful shout out to Gwen as she leads the pledge. Thank you.
You get to tell us all to
Yeah,
stand up
yeah,
and they're
yeah.
gonna follow your direction like you for the teacher. So tell us, please stand.
What we do?
Please stand.
That feel good.
Didn't say Simon Says. I'll stay again.
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wow.
There you go.
The mission, yeah.
Yeah. Staff, students, parents, and the community help assure that each child develops the skills and character necessary for lifelong achievement and responsible citizenship in a diverse world. Yeah.
Don't go away.
Come on down, Gwen. I got some wonderful things to to read here that came from your school. So, Gwen is a hard worker that is kind and responsible. She loves living in Santa Cruz because of all the beautiful natural surroundings. Of all of the ecosystems, she loves to be around our creeks the most, where she can use her imagination and build with natural resources. I'm gonna ask you about that a little bit. When she grows up, Gwen would like to be a veterinarian or a doctor. People. Okay. Her favorite thing about Santa Cruz Gardens is how nice all people are, and that there's a lot of kindness. Her favorite subjects are math and art. Her favorite thing about Santa Cruz, California, not New Mexico, but California, is that is much bigger than where she used to live in Tehachapi, California. And that was, it is fun to meet new people. Her favorite foods are cheesecake and spaghetti. How's that taste together? The cheesecake and spaghetti together? If Gwen is going to travel somewhere, she would love to go to Japan. She loves Pokemon, and she was the Eevee Pokemon character for Halloween. Now, that Eevee is a shapeshifter, right? Goes to different bodies, kind of.
No.
Oh, okay. About that later. We are so grateful to have Gwen and her twin sister Emma at Santa Cruz Gardens in the 3rd grade. Hello. They both are wonderful, bright, charismatic leaders of the Santa Cruz Gardens way to be safe, kind, and responsible. Her parents are wonderful supporters of our school and the Home and School Club. Thank you very much.
That was a lot of great stuff.
Here, Gwen, I got this for you.
What's that?
Right here, you go home, frame it.
You
put it
can
on-
grab this? You okay? And we also have these special trinkets if you want to find something you like, and you can get one for your sister. And we like to ask questions.
I also have this for you too.
Oh, yeah.
But we can ask questions or do it. Here is a certificate to 2 birds for any books you would like, probably Pokemon or how to make cheesecake and spaghetti. Here you go, Quinn.
Like this.
Or you're still, oh,
Oh,
you're still
yeah.
picking. Okay, I'm sorry, no rush.
Ready for that?
There
Have you
we
ever
go.
been to Two Birds Books? It's a bookstore in Capitola. You guys you'll really like it.
Okay.
All right.
Sister wants to come get something. She
Wanna come
I
up?
know
Oh,
something.
you already-
Oh, so
Yeah.
thoughtful.
Yeah, act like this. Well, say that I know this that says Scott Turnbull.
Yeah.
There's a author. It's Scott Odell.
Scott Odell, he wrote Island of the Blue Dolphins, right?
Yeah.
I love that book.
Wow.
Yeah, I literally finished it recently.
Really? Good
Wow.
job. That was one of my favorite books.
Yeah.
Marino, is that the girl on the Island of the Blue Dolphins, I think?
Piranha.
Piranha, thank you.
Wow.
Okay. Wow.
Gwen, is it okay if we ask you some questions like about your life and what you like, or
Yeah.
are you comfortable with that?
I'm
Yeah?
okay with that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Sorry, I took over.
That's good.
Putting the secret.
Okay, I got the EV Pokemon wrong. So which one is EV?
The one that can copy of other moves from other Pokemons
Yeah, okay, all right.
and evolves into 9 other forms,
Wow.
at least.
Wow, cool.
And did you say that was your Halloween costume?
Yes.
Evie? So did you do that? Like, did you copy other moves?
No, there were no other Pokemon that I saw.
I got a question. It's in 2 parts. So like one, do you have any pets? And I read that, heard that you kind of were interested in being a vet.
I have a cup.
You have a what?
Cat.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Does cat have a name?
Groucho.
Groucho? Oh, very nice. And if you were a vet, do you have any preference on animals that you'd like to work on?
That I know of.
No? Okay.
Wow.
Something that grabbed me was that the rivers and
Oh, yeah.
was your favorite ecosystem and that you like to build things down by the river. I was wondering what kinds of things have you built around the river?
Well, I've had one experience when I was able to be carried by a friend across one, but my sister was a bit too heavy to be carried because it was a friend that was carrying me, and we built a bridge so she could pass.
Wow.
Took a few minutes, but it ended up working.
That's impressive. Wow.
And one of the other things, it sounds like art is one of your favorite subjects. Is there a specific type of art you like to make?
I like to paint and draw.
Yeah. That's wonderful. It's wonderful to meet you.
Pleasure.
Oh,
Can
we take
Yeah.
picture?
Yeah.
You know, give a
Share with
pic-
your family.
With you and your sister?
Sure.
Yeah. Brian, nice to meet you. Yeah.
Did they have an older brother at New Brighton?
No,
Just that's you. Just
Dynamic.
we had another family like Tehachapi. Now we know the pathway.
Right.
Thank you.
Very
Thank you so much.
Very nice. Yeah, it's been great.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for livening up the
Great
meeting
work.
here.
All right. I know, so fun,
Yeah, they
so
are.
fun. All right, moving our meeting along. Item 3B, may I have an adoption of the agenda?
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
A second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The report out of closed session is that there's nothing to report. May I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
Make a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
A second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, moving,
Is there a resolution?
Yeah.
okay,
Oh, yes. Trustee Edmondson,
aye.
trustee Gray,
Aye.
trustee Donnelly,
Aye.
trustee Jackson Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Dickinson.
Aye.
All right. Moving on to recognition. So exciting for us. We would like to 5A recognition of Brittany Burchell as the SoCal Elementary Principal for 2025-26.
All right.
Brittany, feel free to come on up. I'll just do a brief introduction and then turn the floor over to you. But as the board knows, we had our previous SoCal elementary principal go find another pathway kind of late in the game, and that puts districts in a challenging place. And what saved us is we had an amazing talented person right here in our own district that was ready to step up. And boy, did she step up. She started the year as the interim principal. And it's like one of those things, you think of all the things that could have gone wrong, and the beginning of the year is so important for a school, and we needed stability there. And Brittany provided that with her experience as a teacher and as an administrator in our district, and just her kind, thoughtful, active listening way of being. And so we're just so grateful to you to have brought this experience, and are so proud that now you are not the interim, but the permanent principal at SoCal Elementary. Feel free to say a few words about how it's going and then introduce the lovely people who brought
Yeah,
us here tonight.
thank you for the nice introduction. I do want to just say thank you officially for trusting in me with the responsibility of leading such a dynamic school with a very strong staff and a very talented group of not just teachers, but parents. So I really am looking forward and excited about all the things that will come. And I feel like my feet are definitely have sunken in now. The beginning of the year was obviously stress was high as I was learning so many things and immersing myself in the school, but I do feel very confident in where we're at. The cohesion that I'm going to continue to build on there. I'm really excited about all of the things that are in place in regards to MTSS and practices around cost and things like that. But I just want to introduce my family over here. I have my mom and my dad in the back, Paul and Karen. None of this would be possible without my strong parents who, believe in their kids and things like that. So I'm a product of having a really strong family. My husband, Tony, and my stepdaughter, Ashley, are here. My son, River, who graduated from SoCal, went to Main Street, New Brighton, and SoCal. My other stepdaughter's in college in Texas. But yeah, this is my family, and I'm just really excited to be able to lead SoCal Elementary. So thank you.
Yeah.
Very much. We're so proud to have her a part of our team.
It was special to see you leading at back to school night. No, it's okay. Just saying at back to school night. I just saw you in the mix and I was like, wow, she's perfect here. It was nice.
It was a great night.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might have mentioned that like stress levels high and there's a lot to learn in the beginning, but being at back to school night and seeing the way, parents and staff were interacting with you and you were handling everything, like it looked like you've been doing it for years, And we just get a little glimpse because I don't have a child at your school, but it's really beautiful to see so early in the year.
Thank you.
All right. Love those recognition items. Moving on to public communications. Is there anything in the room? Anything on email?
Nothing on email.
All right, standing reports. Would you like to start us off?
I'll start, and I'm just going to keep mine very brief because it's kind of a singular moment for us, and I don't want to steal your thunder, but I'm going to. We have our ribbon cutting ceremony tomorrow, 3:30 for the new Brighton turf field. Which is just something we're so proud of. There's been so much work behind the scenes to make it happen, and we've had great partners. And so if you get a chance, come on out, and it's going to be great once we see our kids actually out playing on that field. So that's my report for the night.
Great.
Sorry.
Should we go Allison and then Jessica?
Sure. So, yes, in regards to the field, super excited. We went ahead and did the punch list. There wasn't very many items that needed to be addressed, which is awesome. We're super excited because the construction team met the deadline
Mhm.
that they provided, so that's kind of unheard of. And everything went so smooth, great process, excited about that. And then the ribbon cutting ceremony, I mean, we're all ecstatic for
Yeah.
that, so. With that, we had our second CBOC meeting, which is a Community Bond Oversight Committee meeting. And that was great, so we have those quarterly, so we've already had our second one. And then auditors, just kind of in the last few weeks, just wrapping up with the auditors, because they always had a lot of requests, so kind of getting everything dialed in and to them and so forth, and hopefully they'll be completing the audit soon. I'm thinking maybe in December we should hear from them with the final audit report. So that's pretty much it.
Right.
Thank you.
All right. Jessica?
Hi, everyone. Thank you first for allowing me the opportunity to greet you from San Francisco. I'm at the AXA Leadership Summit here and talking to lots of leaders across our state about education and educational leadership and families and kids. And so just really thank you for the opportunity to be here. I am just going to keep my updates to a minimum as well. I want to thank all of the schools for hosting such wonderful events last week. We were able to see lots of kids, happy kids in costumes, lots of dancing, lots of really great festive spirit happening at our schools. And I can see why students want to be at schools because, boy, I did not want to leave. And just to give, a couple of more shout outs. We've had a few really strong PDs lately. So I just want to thank our staff and our presenters who've been working so hard to keep our staff up to the date with the newest and most improved strategies. So thank you again for letting me join you from here. And I will have some more items tonight. So I'll see you again.
Thanks so much. Items from SEA.
CA. Let's see. Okay. Get ready, there's a lot. New Brighton is excitedly anticipating the opening of their new field. Students are eager to get out on the field to run, play sports, and train for the upcoming annual Turkey Trot this month. Our school will definitely benefit from this new and improved outdoor space. At SoCal-L, TK got a nice new bulletin board for communication. Kindergarten students are moving to room 1, so there will be no more combination class and all the kinders will be together. First grade is starting to read. Second grade is excited about their Natural Bridges field trip, and third grade is working on sportsmanship. Fourth grade finished reading Tiger Rising and is starting to read Island of the Blue Dolphins, while also starting on an opinion writing unit. And fifth grade is planning science camp and starting experiential science lessons. They're also starting book clubs. Halloween was a big success, and SoCal's whole school Dia de los Muertos celebration will take place this Friday. Last week at Main Street, the Common Ground Society gave a presentation to the students focused on starting the conversation about disability, acknowledging our fears surrounding people who are different, and providing students with practical tools to grow their inclusive muscles. Halloween was a fun and busy day with a costume parade. Third grade had fun learning about Dia de los Muertos and making ofrendas, calaveras, marigolds, and enjoying pan de muerto and drinking hot chocolate. The winner of the pumpkin decorating contest was announced. Congratulations to all the classes who did an excellent job decorating their pumpkins as their favorite book characters. Career Week was a success with many parents speaking to classes about their career and what it took to get there. The Museum of Discovery has begun to engage students in a weekly hands-on science lessons. Each grade level will participate in 4 weeks of lessons. Thank you to the Friends of Main Street for funding this opportunity. Fourth grade is visiting Monterey Historic Park to immerse themselves in what life would have been like in California during the Rancho period. Students create brands, maps, and toys. And they also make tortillas, ropes, and embroider a keepsake. On November 14th, fourth graders will be extracting DNA from a strawberry with the San Francisco Bay Area ISPE, International Society for Pharmaceutical Engineering. Santa Cruz Gardens had another great Halloween celebration on Friday. Students and families enjoyed the all-school parade, dance party, and visiting the school's ofrenda. Santa Cruz Gardens is also getting ready for their Sage Hype Week next week. Students will be exploring the gardens and celebrating outdoor learning. The Home and School Club has generously funded a 6-week music class for all students, which will include a winter musical performance. Students are enjoying singing and learning songs from around the world. And that's everything.
Is there more to say about that?
Thank you.
Thank you, yeah, great. All right, anything from CSEA?
I do not have anything from that.
All right, we wish them well. Update
Yep.
on bond projects?
We are going to, at the next board meeting, do a full and robust Measure P update. So Jim will be a part of that and we'll get all caught up then.
Great. Items from trustees?
Well, I have nothing to report, so we're off to that, but thank you, Santa Cruz Gardens, for the wonderful artwork. Brightens up the office or the room.
I don't
Anything
have
else?
much either.
Anything?
I'll just say I love our community. Halloween has become such an important part of Capitola, in the little areas around here, and it's just great to, I remember when I was walking my kids up here, what a safe, incredible environment. So many people and homes and families get really into it, and I did the same thing this year, and it's just amazing to see how engaged everybody is and what a wonderful environment, family place we live in.
Great.
I just have one thing to report, which is that I met with Stacy Kyle, who's the newest trustee on the County Board of Education representing our area. And we'd known each other previously. She wanted to get together and just learn a little bit more about what's going on in our district. And I think she'll have more to offer later.
Great.
I don't have anything.
Great. I don't have much to report. All right, so we are moving on to presentation, information, and discussion. And of course, you all are welcome to stay, but if you guys have some plans tonight, we don't want to keep you.
You don't have to feel guilty.
Don't feel guilty. Yeah,
Whatever's comfortable for you.
Yeah. We put you at the front for a reason.
Very kind of you.
All right, moving on, 8A, discussion regarding the process for district consolidation.
Thank you all for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Hope you
thanks.
celebrate.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, sir.
See you, Tony.
All right, so I'll just provide a little bit of background and context. I won't elaborate too far, but just to frame it up a little bit. We started earlier this school year, just making sure that we weren't missing out on any opportunities as we address declining enrollment and some level of deficit spending in our district. Being proactive, not waiting until it's too late in the game, and just making sure that our gradual approach to addressing these issues is something that is in alignment with the board, and wanting to just bring conversation from parking lot to the boardroom and just not duck anything that we should be talking about. And while it's not an action item, kind of seeking from the board, is this a topic we want to go in deeper with, or are we going to move on to other considerations? And so we talked about different options back in September. And then at the most recent board meeting, we brought specific information on school consolidation as a more drastic approach to addressing some of these issues. And didn't have a request for more information on that. So we moved on to another option, which is district consolidation. And to say the least, it's a very, very involved process, very complex and involved process. And so I took a couple of approaches with this. One was I'll say an oversimplified flow chart, so that at least we can wrap our minds around the outline of steps. And then I included a very detailed handbook from the California Department of Education that addresses school district reorganization, from a very detailed perspective. So let's start with the oversimplified flow chart. And so just what are the major benchmarks if ever districts are looking to consolidate? And so the first step is that both districts would have to have 25% of registered voters approve a petition. That's one avenue to do step one. Another avenue is that both districts' governing boards have a majority approval to do so. So if one of those two things happens, then petitions are filed with the county superintendent. And then I always like to say on this first step, you know, yes, petitions and everything, but you got to kind of have a willing dance partner that is wanting to consider to go along with you on that. So if it gets through that first stage, and then you'll also see in red, there's kind of ballpark timelines. I would say those timelines, I picked those up from the Department of Education handbook. I would say they're very ambitious and kind of in the vein of if everything goes perfectly, which in these kind of evolved processes, you know, typically they don't, right? There's either appeals or more discussion necessary. So I would say the overall timeline of 3 years is like super ambitious. And if everything goes perfect, so just kind of paint that picture. So step 2, if it gets to that point, is it goes to a county commission. In our county, that's the actual County Office of Education School Board. And they review it against different benchmarks and criteria. And just to make sure that would create a new fiscally stable new district and that it doesn't do something like create disproportionate demographics, rich versus poor district, to put it in like some kind of simplified perspective, that it's not doing anything that would cause harm to either group. So they review it. That takes up to or more than 6 months. If it gets through that threshold, then it goes to a vote. And so both districts would have to pay for an election, and it would have to be a simple majority approval in each district. It gets through that threshold, then it goes to the State Board of Education, and they again review it, you know, with an eagle eye to make sure that there's not some negative unintended consequence of whatever new reorganization there is. If it makes it through that benchmark, then the process begins of doing all the nitty-gritty work of basically creating a new district out of the 2 former districts and having a new governing board and all of the processes in this very oversimplified version that I'm presenting. Those are kind of the big steps. And then if you dive into the handbook that's prepared by the California Department of Education, you will see those oversimplified steps really spelled out into really detailed approaches that would have to be done. So, but I'll stop with the kind of big picture view, because I think we can get into the weeds really deep if we wanted to, but I'll stop there with the big picture overview and just see if the board has any questions or comments about the overall process, district consolidation.
Well, I don't think it's a process question.
Okay.
It might be a follow-up, not in this moment question, but it's the cost savings question,
Okay.
right? Because when we talked about school consolidation, it was kind of like, here's very rough ballpark.
Yeah.
And so the general idea of like, and not, you know, not even needing a number, but like,
Yeah.
where do the savings come from?
Like if we were going to do that, we'd only be doing it for that reason, right? And yeah, so I'll address that generally, and I appreciate what you're saying. Like, you're not expecting like definitive numbers right here, and I don't even know if definitive numbers, you know, could be available without going real deep. But I'll just talk about like some of the considerations, right? So there's partner districts in the county or other districts in the county that sometimes in that parking lot kind of chatter like, why don't we just combine with that district? So and other districts may have LCFF funding that goes a little further than ours, because LCFF funding is increased depending on the number of unduplicated students you have, either students that have low income background or multilingual learners or foster students, right? And so the higher your population of unduplicated students, and this was really the thrust of LCFF, not to get too far into the weeds, but this was Governor Brown's vision back in the day, is that more money ought to follow those students who need more supports, right? So relatively speaking, our number of unduplicated students is relatively low, and doesn't mean that we put any less effort or support into them, but our unduplicated count is around 35% ballpark. And other districts may have, around here could have 60, 70, or 80%. So they have more funding.
Do we know that? Do we know, like, for example, what Live Oak has or?
I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it's a lot more than ours and it qualifies them for concentration grant funding,
Oh, okay.
which is the next
Yeah,
level
yeah.
of LCFF that
Yeah,
we
yeah.
don't qualify for.
Yeah.
So that's my very long-winded way of saying one, since it was thrown out there, I'll go ahead and say Live Oak, because that's the one that's kind of bandied about sometimes, right? 2 medium-sized districts. From that perspective, it actually would dilute the funding because our number of unduplicated students would bring their average down and it could impact a level of funding, the concentration grant funding. So just as one, that's a very big picture response to the question. Maybe another complex variable to consider is we heard at a recent board meeting about our teetering status on basic aid and what that means to our district. And so kind of in the reverse scenario, combining with another district could dilute that possibility of us getting further, deeper into basic aid. And so my very superficial, admittedly superficial, top level analysis is I don't see my opinion at this point. I don't see where it would benefit financially, from that kind of consolidation from top level. But that's why we bring it out here to have these kind of discussions is, so to make sure when the question gets asked, why don't we just do this? Like we're looking at that, we're not ignoring it. But yeah, I don't see an easy pathway where it's like, oh boy, if those two districts combined, that'd be really fiscally, an improvement for both districts. I don't see that. So of course I always look to Allison and I'm willing to be wrong if you see a different pathway.
Where do you adjust both of my?
How does that affect district leadership too? Would their superintendent take over us? Would you take over them?
That would all come out in step 5. We would determine all that. And that would be the last thing I ever worry about, right? Like that is nothing about
But that's
either
the
one of my
cost,
jobs.
that's also totally.
Yeah,
and I get it,
yeah,
but that's
yeah.
that's the factor of cost savings too,
Yeah.
because we only have one admin team instead of 2.
It's kind of like a school consolidation. There would certainly be some efficiencies that would result in some savings.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Which was the majority of all the savings that we get from the school was all.
Yep.
Yeah. I appreciate the thought, everything that you put into this, I mean, knowing about it,
Yeah.
having some details.
Yeah.
Kind of like the other thing, I don't think anybody's interested in going, oh, I'm not, but it's good to know the details.
Yeah.
I just had a few things that I wanted to share with the board. Just that some teachers sent us a letter and they were interested in this option. There's about, looks like 6 teachers were interested in perhaps having the county investigate if this is a good idea. That's kind of the paraphrase of it. I did just diving into some of my own, trying to understand, like you're saying about the cost savings, what might it be? And then what I found, please correct me if you think I'm wrong, but that small districts of maybe like 300 students, it's cost effective to merge maybe 2 small districts like that. But when you have a district like ours that's more mid-size, we're about
1,500. Yeah.
1,500. Live Oak is 19. That's what it says on their website. But so those are mid.
Yeah.
So then the financial benefit of those mid-sized districts is lessened a lot. So and then if you think about who is around us, Mountain School, Happy Valley, Live Oak, there's the school on the summit, but that's pretty kind of far to even imagine that. So we have Mountain School, they're 100 or 100, 200. Happy Valley's similar, very small. So that kind of leaves us with, not a huge financial savings from what I found. The number I saw was about 2 to 4% of savings. When we looked at the Santa Cruz, when we looked at other options like school consolidation, that just the figures you said, what was that, like 3 to 4%?
Oh yeah, as a what?
Right.
Super rough, but it could
Right.
drop from there depending on the
Right.
needs, yeah.
Yeah. So when you think about those numbers, I mean, if 2 to 4% is right, if it was about 3 to 4% to close a school, you would be losing a lot of
But what is the 2 to 4%? It's a,
sorry, I'll let you finish.
because the 3 to 4% was the amount that if we gave everyone, all the staff an equal raise, we would be able to give them a 4% raise.
If you
if we
Consolidated
consolidated
school.
schools, so.
Yeah,
Is the 2 to 4% saying on the net, you're saving 2 to 4% of the total costs?
of
those-
merging the district because you're saving things, and it named some of the positions, superintendent, HR, financial people, like those are kind of the jobs
Right.
you're consolidating.
What I'm saying is that 2 to 4% is a different number than the 4% we were talking about with school consolidation.
Tell
So
me.
we'd have, the 4% or the 3.5% was if we consolidated schools, we would have $600,000 in savings, and that roughly accounts for 3.5% raises for people. What you're talking about is in net, maybe we have $5 million of expenses across the 2 school districts, and we would save 2 to 4% of that. And that number we have to calculate and figure out what is that number. It's 2 different numbers. So
I see what you're saying.
I hear you saying that it would only be 2 to 4% versus what we looked at school consolidation, it was 4%, but those are different numbers.
Okay,
So I just wanted to point that out.
okay.
And then I would just add on to that, the extra layer of complexity with district consolidation is that it could reduce revenues, right? So whatever savings you see in
Yeah.
expenditures, you could also have a negative impact on revenues.
Right. And I would like to point out that you do lose that local control. I mean, that's the heart of your district is that local control. For example, when we talked about school consolidation, we had a packed boardroom and people were like, we don't want that. And we said, okay, we don't want that either. Right. But when you merge with another district, you lose that power to say, make those decisions that, I mean, I don't know, we all live in this community. It just grows it.
Mm.
It's just one thing to think about, that local control.
I think that we have very few options available to us. And the reality that's in front of us is reducing enrollment and a cost of living that is ever increasing and ever unsustainable for our staff. So I think that we have to look at all of the options really closely. Like, I like that we looked at school consolidation, we looked at actual numbers, and we decided that wasn't the right path. And I hear you that the numbers might not make sense, but I would want to know more specific numbers. And I know that they can't be perfect, but like some kind of, and maybe this is where the COE should come in and help with that. But I think we have to be realistic about the situation that's in front of us and figure out the most sustainable way to deliver public education in a way that is sustainable, not only for our students, but for our teachers and our staff. And maybe the approach that we have is the best one, and we just need to keep doing that. But I want us to go through the due diligence to make sure that there isn't something more radical that would set us up for more long-term success.
So just to paraphrase, you'd like to see numbers of what it would be like to merge with some of these surrounding schools.
Yeah, like
Live Oak or
I
Mount
think
School.
I think taking Live Oak and looking at what their picture is based on what information we have, and like, what does it really look like in terms of the unduplicated picture? Does it dilute their concentration gap funding so much that there is no benefit given all the other pieces? Or is there dilution, but there's still a net increase overall across, the total revenue? I would be interested in that because I know Live Oak is facing similar issues with reduced enrollment. So if there is a path that is ultimately beneficial for both districts, I feel like we should be acknowledging that and thinking about it. And I think the first step is for somebody, and maybe it is the COE, so it's a more objective entity, to sort of say, well, this is, these assumptions, this is what the analysis would say that it's the equivalent of X amount per year savings. Give or take, you know, then there could be the assumptions about, well, if our basic aid changes this way, like there's all sorts of assumptions that would have to go into it, but. And then there's also the other factor of somehow seeing if Live Oak is even interested in something like that, right? And I feel like in order to even entertain that like starting conversation, we need to be able to say, well, here are some preliminary numbers that make it look like it could be a way that we could have a more sustainable school district. That's my.
And is it just Live Oak that?
Well, I don't.
It's probably the only one that makes sense.
I think it's the only one that makes sense. I don't think Mountain School is going to be up for it. I don't think that any of the individual ones would get benefit from it in the sense that then they would be actively interested in it.
And I don't think we would benefit that much from Mountain School. I don't think they would make that much difference to our bottom line on the money that we were trying to save.
Yeah.
With that small enrollment as well. I agree. I'd like to see some numbers when it comes down to it, but also I've heard a couple of people say we're not going to do the school consolidation, and I didn't think that was off the table. I mean, I'm keeping an open mind for everything, kind of like what you just said. I mean, if it comes to the point where we have to do something, you know, I'm not taking anything off the table. And to be totally transparent as well with this group, a number of teachers in our school district have reached out to me and said, and I've shared this with Callie, the specifics, but you know, they've supported the idea of closing or narrowing our schools and giving the teachers that raise, and looking at that as a serious option. And those are teachers in our district who, you know, obviously, you know, feel as much as we do about this whole thing too.
I am open
And I'm
to
totally neutral. So
I am open to investigating something, but I don't want to talk about it in like a kind of rose glasses, that even if there is this percent of money, I mean, there's maybe different, you have to look at like all the facilities. I mean, there's right. Do they even want to do it? Right. There's things that are, it's not just, I want to think about, you know, some of the I don't know, unforeseen costs.
100%, and we're not there yet, you know. I mean, these are all just us learning, you know, to Scott's point when he started this conversation, you know, this is all just information. None of this is an action item. We are not at this point yet. I just think it's something to consider in the back of our minds. So if worse comes to worse, we have to make an informed decision.
I guess I'd like to hop back in, and I just want to say again, I know I said it at a previous meeting, but I think it's following what you just mentioned, which is just, again, being really careful about always equating whatever cost savings may be with perhaps a percentage salary increase. And I mean, it's, again, with absolutely no disrespect or thought that isn't of the utmost importance. It is, and that's part of the reason we're having this conversation, of course, is knowing the situation our staff is in, but also like the deficit spending and declining enrollment, and just recognizing like it was helpful looking at, if we did this, what could that possibly mean in terms of something, but I really want to hold on, like possibly, because I feel terrible about if we're doing something or giving any inclination that there's any kind of guaranteed what savings we're talking about.
Like, that's
I
not
hear that.
straight.
I hear that. I also think that it should be our number one priority, figuring out how we can pay our teachers and our staff more. And there are so few options. Like this is literally the only option. Like other than finding like, you know, a Mark Zuckerberg who's gonna give us, you know, like so like there's just so few, and I hear that it's not like it's an automatic, oh, we've saved 600,000, okay, let's like sign the salary increases. But to me, it is the driving force to look at things like this, is to how can we take that savings and ultimately apply as much of it as we can to the people who work in the district. So I hear you,
Fair
that it's
point.
not like a,
Yeah.
automatic, but that's
No, it's
either,
not at all.
that's the
Yeah,
reason
it's
to
gonna be a
look at
long
it.
Process.
And I would just like to add, just like, again, reminder that the 600,000 was just a rough estimate. And that night that we were talking about that, as we were saying like, oh, we may need this position or this position, that number
Yeah.
kept getting lower and lower, so it was dropping as we were talking, and I was kind of calculating
Yeah.
it out, so,
Yeah.
it just.
In the
Yeah.
upcoming conference, there's probably gonna be discussion about this as well, too. We're gonna find something around the table, maybe other districts that have done it. I'm not, sure why. You might know a few, Scott, but.
I reached out to the CDE and they weren't able to give me exact figures.
yeah.
There is some data on their website about different school district reorganizations, but I could not find anything specifically about two districts merging.
It did look like though in some of the materials you shared that there has been a general reduction
Well,
in the number of districts, so
yeah.
that would imply that some have consolidated.
Yeah, I think sometimes what happens is small districts as they get very
Mhm.
small,
Yeah.
to use non-precise terms, get absorbed,
Yeah, they get gobbled up.
which is some similarities, but a little different than two mid-sized districts merging into one, so.
Well, in Santa Cruz, I mean, county, basically, there was a bazillion,
Yeah.
districts.
Yeah.
And then they started getting gobbled up by, Santa Cruz City Schools,
Tahoe.
Tahoe, and then,
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, there were a lot of districts, but that's before people could drive too, the school was right there, in the neighborhood. So, but off subject.
And it does seem like the trend is towards unified districts, including the high school.
Yeah.
I mean, then high schools get more funding than the elementaries, so that you kind of can balance it out. I mean, in the data that I looked at, there was a trend towards unified, including that high school.
But that high school is one school in the whole district, so you're talking about.
It's not work, it doesn't work for us because
Yeah.
Santa Cruz City already has the high school.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. And sorry.
No.
No, you go.
Well, I was gonna say, I wanted to go back to the kind of your original idea about getting more information and getting some numbers. And I like, the way Scott, you phrased like we need a dance partner, which, and so I appreciate, I think getting some more information is helpful. And I guess how do we do it in a way that's kind of tailored towards seeing if it makes sense to both parties, right? Because if all of the data are up, and I think you already said this, I'm probably just saying it again, but if what we're looking at is really how does it benefit Soquel Elementary School District, right? How does that even start the conversation with the other party? I don't know if the COE does this kind of work or if it's a matter of the CBO,
We can all work together.
CBOs working together, but I mean, it makes sense. I appreciate the idea. I think getting more information is important and doing it in a way that see if it makes sense to both parties. I'm also curious, and again, stop me if I'm wrong, if I don't want to ask for anything that doesn't make sense, but is there any way, if it made sense with Mountain, like would our combined demographics do something that teeters the totter more towards basic aid, which in some way is helpful?
That's interesting.
I don't know, because I don't look at those numbers.
We can work.
Yeah.
We can work on those numbers.
Only if it makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, so.
I just would like to say, on just a human level, I'm a little bit scared about just that, we have just a few elementaries with the middle, like we have control over these schools and, I mean, when you toss it over and you merge those districts, like they might want to close a school and we would lose that voice in that.
Well, we wouldn't entirely lose that voice. It becomes a slightly bigger pie that there are, it wouldn't be the 5 of us with the pie that we have right now. It maybe would be 7 with a bigger pie. Like we'd still have a voice and it's still a small-ish community.
It does feel like though when the pie is smaller, you can kind of protect it how you want it.
Yes, I know.
There's a culture piece.
There's a
right?
culture
Yeah,
piece.
and,
That's
Like
That's precious.
this district has a culture,
Yeah,
other districts have other cultures, and what would the culture of that new formed district be? Would it be the same?
it'd be different.
It'd be
Yeah,
different.
it'd be different.
I also, I do see Kelly's point in that just because we don't close a school and we merge with another school district, doesn't mean they're not gonna
Right.
close that school.
Right.
So either way, they're gonna look at the same data that we're looking at. And somebody, we're just punting, we're just kicking it down the road. Somebody at some point is gonna have to make a decision unless we can change, what's happening. It's gonna be us, it's gonna be them.
Perhaps though, for many years now, people have made the decision not to do it. Just saying.
Yeah.
It's not that it's this inevitable thing and we're moving towards it. Perhaps it's something that, works for our community. Just putting that out there too.
100%.
But I do hear a strong ask of numbers. And it sounds like a Mountain School number and a Live Oak number to see if it would be beneficial to both districts or what that might look like. Anything else?
I guess I just want to say I appreciate, like, we are having really big, hard conversations
Yeah.
around things and giving up, potentially looking at giving up, parts of identity, parts of culture, like all to your point, like, because this is brought to us because we're facing some really, really big, serious problems, and that we're coming at it from a place of really, really caring deeply about what we're able to provide for our staff, as well as,
Right.
keep the district fiscally sound. So
It's leaving
thank
that
you
stone
for
unturned. Yeah,
bringing this all
for sure.
to us and
For sure.
getting it out of the parking lot, like you say.
Yep.
And I appreciate all of you as fellow board members that you're willing to, consider this and, that we're thinking with our hearts. Is what it feels like.
A lot of empathy,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this healthcare thing
Yeah.
it's just a kick in the shin.
Totally.
It's like attendance and,
Yeah.
everything is just, and then you get that, and that's not just the students in the schools, that's just really affecting our staff
Yeah.
terribly, and, it's like us just trying to come up with the miracle solution, to make parents happy and our staff more money and to make this the utopia that we want it to be is, like you said, Amanda, it's a really difficult conversation.
All
Right.
right.
Well, we will work on that extra data and don't know if it will be at the next board meeting or a future board meeting, but we will put time and energy into it. And then I would also like to say, since it was brought up, if it's okay, I think it's connected to this, on the topic of school consolidation. Some points were made about people reaching out, understandably, and whether that's off the table. And I know last time was not an action item. But I almost didn't say this because I don't want to steer the conversation the wrong way, but then I feel like I don't want to miss the opportunity. I did from you as a board, the superintendent, take direction that you're not requesting more information on that. And to whatever degree a discussion item can allow for it, we moved on from that. So I kind of felt like silence on that would mean consent for me, that it was still kind of on the table. That's not the direction I took last time. The direction I took last time is that we have moved on from that. So just would have felt remiss if I didn't have the courage to say that, and for clarity's sake. So correct me if I'm wrong.
All right. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Do you feel that way, Robert? Are you good with it, with that as Scott has just presented it?
And I guess one of the reasons I said it is because, like, in a very democratic way, like, and with a robust public comment, like, that discussion was held, right? So just wanted to say
It was, and it sounds like there's been additional, like there were people who I guess weren't there who also had feedback that they shared directly with you.
I don't know what to, I'm just keeping an open mind about solutions. I I felt we had a very good discussion about it. I mean, we certainly heard from the board, communities, our community here, I
Yeah.
understand everybody's thing. It doesn't change the reality of what we're facing though. And at some point, I hope we can just keep it kicking it down the road and we don't have to do anything and we can just find cost saving measures and what Scott is doing within our district right now in terms of, maybe not replacing somebody who leaves or doing everything we can
Yeah.
to save every penny that we can in order to be able to give it to our staff, and make them as whole as we can.
Yeah.
With what's going on in their lives, is what the reality of the situation is. People are having trouble living and putting food on the table, and I just keep a lot of, that's what was expressed to me, and I think that, and I have no dog in this fight whatsoever. I don't want to close any school.
Of course
I
not.
don't want to merge with another school district.
No.
I want all of our teachers to make a good, comfortable living, be able to live their lives and support our students in the best way possible.
We can all agree on that.
Yeah, but if worst case, if unless something changes, hopefully what you're doing is magnificent and it works and we can find a solution that doesn't involve any of these options. But until we do, I would be not doing my job as a board member to say, oh, that's completely off the table. You know what I mean? We had a discussion about it. We moved on. I'm not looking to revisit it.
Okay.
I'm never I don't plan on bringing it back as an action item.
Okay.
I'm just saying that, in lieu of us finding a better solution, right now there's two options that we've heard so far. I'm not going to close down either one of them. I don't want to do either one of them, but it's my job to figure out what's best for our district and our kids, and our staff. So that's just where I'm coming
Yeah.
from. I'm just not closing any doors from my personal perspective because there might come a point in time, a year from now or 2 years from now, I might not even be in this seat, where we have to make that decision, and us looking at all the information and having the facts, and doing the preliminary work means we're not going to be just shoving something down somebody's throat because we have to. If we can do something intelligently, strategically, that has to be done. That's what I think we should look at, and that's all I was saying. I don't
Yeah.
want to do anything and I don't want to bring anything back as an action item. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I just, and from my perspective, I was just sharing what some of the other, staff here have related to me,
Yeah.
and I know things are tough.
Yeah.
And if you guys don't think that there are people who want an extra 4% raise, that will help them survive what's coming up, I think we're all like ostriches and just have our head in the sand.
Yeah.
I that's all.
Thanks for clarifying that. I'm glad I put it back on the table so I can hear all of your thoughts about it. Because yeah, I hear everything you're saying and I can't think of anything that I disagreed with. For me, it's more like a procedural. I just want to be clear on what my direction is to bring back to the board, and so just to make sure that
100%.
Yeah.
And I will say, I appreciate the
Yeah.
position that you're in
Yeah.
too, Scott.
Yeah.
This is not
there's
easy
so much
for-
uncertainty, right? And
Yeah.
everybody wants what's best for our staff. There's no disagreement about that. And then we have this whole, not to belabor the point, but there's this extra layer of uncertainty of what our status with basic aid is and where that may lead us. And, we're not going to say that's going to be the saving grace, but it's also a thing, and a thing we'll be really closely monitoring. So there's so much uncertainty, and I think all of us want certainty for our staff and for our families, and
Yeah.
that's the
And
challenge.
politics changes too,
Mhm.
this current administration could do something different. The next administration could do something different. We have a gubernatorial race next year that could change the dynamic of what's coming into our schools too. Healthcare could change, you know what I mean? There's a lot of variables and factors that could come into this, so I don't believe that kicking it down the road is the wrong thing to do because like you guys said, everything changes and somehow things work out. I'm certainly hoping, and then again, hope is not a strategy.
Thanks for clarifying, Robert. I appreciate it.
All right,
If there's nothing else, we'd like to move on to the discussion regarding the LCAP.
Well, thank you. Just that this is a tough item to follow, so I just want to give you the moments you need to breathe and be in a great space to be able to go to a next topic. That said, I'm going to go to our next topic. And so you got very little time. Is it okay to go?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. It's hard for me to, on my screen, you're really teeny, so it's hard to know. But this is actually an item that I'm loving sharing because it connects a couple of the things that the board knows that we've been working on through the LCAP this year. As the board knows, we have a number of instructional teams that work on our campuses, and we've talked about those already this year with kind of some of the different teams we have working. We have the TK collaborative, we have our Jeff Swears team who are doing our academic conversations. We have our PEBC, our math initiative, our math leadership team, and our stewardship team, our grade level teams. And so we've got lots of instructional teams who are talking about really important things that matter about what happens in classrooms with regard to teaching and learning. And one of the things that has emerged most recently was the desire for instructional materials specific to mathematics and leveled mathematics focused on literacy. And that is something that we are really thinking about with specificity to our New Brighton students who have not yet reclassified and our English learners in Ms. Stack's class who are taking grade level mathematics, but not speaking in grade level or reading in grade level language. And so one of the things that we have really started to think about specific to those students is we're not seeing the level of success that we'd like to see. And some of that may just be the materials that we have on hand for them. And so we're looking at increasing the leveled literacy materials within the content of mathematics at New Brighton. And so just wanted the board to know that we are really drilling down into some of our groups and some of our populations of students who haven't succeeded at the level that we'd like, and really trying to bolster the types of curriculum and supplemental curriculum that are available to them. So that's a really big win for us. To get to conversations where we're making decisions not about us globally, but really us globally having conversations about what's best for groups of students and groups of teachers who are serving those students. So really excited to move forward that conversation with New Brighton and their team over there, specifically with our math team and their ELD team, and some of the students who are not in ELD but are maybe just on the verge of reclassifying and in our general math classes who needed extra support. So that is my update for the LCAP this time. Any questions?
I have a question. Would you just explain leveled literacy and how that relates to math?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very nuanced question. And so bear with me, I'm going to try to make it like simplified. So as you know, when we're like in kindergarten, we have like kindergarten level readers, and we have first grade level readers and second grade level readers. When we talk about a student who's in middle school whose reading level in English is like a kindergarten level or a first grade level or a second grade level, but they're working on math curriculum that's at their grade level, sometimes there's a mismatch in the way that the curriculum asks a student to perform a mathematical problem. And so the goal is to really think about how do we change the literacy level of the question to get to the content that the student needs at their grade level in mathematics. Does that make sense?
I think so. So then the teacher's like rewriting the problem at various reading levels?
Well, we don't want the teacher to have to redo that every time. So that's why this is why this kind of focus emerged to say, well, what is there that's available out there that we can put in the hands of our teachers to help with that language gap between, knowing how to read at perhaps a second grade level in English, but knowing that the mathematical language that's used in our textbooks is higher than what the students are able to really internalize, like receptively or verbally or productively. And so just really kind of trying to look at those very specific materials to say, first, can we find them? Because we know we need them. And what we know that our teachers are working really hard to create them on their own. But what could we do to mitigate that time that they're spending and to help our students at a higher level?
All right, thanks. I thought I understood what it was, so thank you for asking that question, because that just gave me a much deeper understanding. So I'm really glad.
It's a really great question because there is no curriculum producer that we have found that makes just a general, like, run-of-the-mill math curriculum that does this well. You really have to do a deep dive into supplementals and very specific types of content literacy to be able to address this issue, which is why we have a large number of students across our country and in our state specifically who continue to continue as long-term English learners and not reclassify, and also not produce a mathematical sensibility enough to graduate from high school. So our goal is to try to find something in that space so that no longer happens.
Yeah. It's just so great because you could look at someone's math paper and think, oh, they're not understanding it, but actually maybe they could understand the math, but they're just confusing some of maybe the English around it or the word problem or something. It's great to support that, to parse that out, how to support it.
And also just as a corollary, the work that we're doing with Jeff Swear's Academic Conversations is more verbal than that, kind of that written language, but it's teaching kids more of that grade level language in mathematics on a verbal level that will eventually get them higher too. So it's not just like one and not the other. It's really tackling them both, but from a different pathway.
Yeah, very cool. It really connects in with building confidence too.
Yeah.
You think about, speaking for myself and my own experiences, if I felt like I didn't quite understand something and you just kind of skate along and then, right, you like shrink and feel like you don't get it and, oh, I'm not good at this. And so hopefully that's, this is having that growth effect and they're feeling more confident and braver and.
And then I was just thinking of the district focus on academic conversations around math. I mean, this fits in perfect to support those mathematical conversations.
Yeah, and just to give a metric that we're going to use behind it is we've created a student efficacy survey in the area of mathematics, and we touched on that with the board a little bit in previous meetings, but we have come up with a very short survey for our students, and so we'll be able to see their level of efficacy that they feel as mathematicians now, and then at the end of the year. And so hopefully we'll see some of the impacts of these various levels of integrative work pay off.
Wonderful. Any other questions or comments from the board? All right, thank you so much for that update.
You're welcome.
All right, I would like to propose that we take a short break. George, if that's okay. So the board, how about we take a 2-minute break? 2 minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
So your computer and
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm dying. I'm 4%.
Yeah, 4%. And he's next.
And we are, for some reason, I'm challenged on these things.
Yeah, they're not
before. I didn't have
working.
trouble, but I can't. I switched this back and forth, back and forth.
Okay,
back and
that was
forth.
my problem.
Yeah. I'm gonna go get an old school charger.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for that short break. I made an error and I would like to move back to item 8A, discussion regarding the process for district consolidation. Is there anything in the room? No, there's not. But it looks like we have an email.
Yeah, thanks for being so mindful about making sure we get that in.
Yeah.
And so I have 2 emails around the previous subject of district consolidation. First one is from teacher DR Martin. And it says, I'm just going to read it verbatim. I am just tuning in as I arrived home late, so I apologize that I missed the start of the conversation. I need to apologize. Our union requested that the COE analyze the costs and benefits of consolidating districts. We sent a letter to the board regarding this. It is our position that the COE will be able to provide stronger data and more comprehensive analytics about the fiscal impact of merging than we could produce from within the district. In order to make fully informed decisions for our community, we need to have a complete picture from a neutral perspective and a dedicated team. Can the board speak to this? I think they did, especially considering recent board meetings where presentations were offered that portrayed a very dire financial situation by the district. Thank you. So, just like in public comments, we usually just hear it out. But this is on an item. I think it's okay to share a perspective. And so I guess, yes, the board already kind of directed us to go in this direction. So that's a nice syncing up with this message. And I guess the other thing I would say is, I don't know about dire. So dire and how it's impacting how our financial situation and the rise in healthcare costs are affecting our employees. Dire. Whether our budget is dire, I wouldn't put it in that category. And in my mind, we're proactively seeking strategies to not get to dire. That's just my 2 cents on that. But we will follow up and work with the COE to get that data. And then the other one came from parent Lauren Westerberg. And it says, hi there, I'm listening to the board meeting and just had a question about the potential of rolling SUESD into Santa Cruz City schools for better alignment with the high schools, and if that's being considered more so than Live Oak to create a new district. And of course, I never, would speak for another district. And these are complex questions. Having said that, the real complexity there is that Santa Cruz City Schools is divided in 2 districts, an elementary district and a high school district, and the elementary district is basic aid and a deeper level of basic aid than what we're on the cusp of. And again, not speaking for the district, just speaking from a general point of view, for a district that is already somewhat deep into basic aid, there is no fiscal incentives to add students. So, well, we're open to learning and looking at all data on the surface. That one, from one person's opinion, does not seem a logical pursuit. All right, those are the 2 comments.
All right, thank you. So if there's nothing else, then we'll get back to our schedule.
Regularly scheduled.
All right, presentation 8C, discussion regarding the superintendent's evaluation process.
Yes, thank you. So the board and I also spoke about these in closed session, very in depth. And so this is the public forum on these goals, which just want to appreciate and say thank you to the board. Just like all parts of their job, they take this part of their job very seriously. And in my estimation, we have a further level of clarity on the goals and the metrics to measure those goals. So with that said, we'll dive into the 3 long-range goals and then the 2 goals on community partnerships and governance team unity. The first long-range goal is squarely focused on math, which is a good tie-in to the previous item, and improving the math program in order to increase overall student achievement district-wide in math, so our students feel more confident in math. And there's been a lot of work done in this. Just to go over the big points, we're part of a county-wide math initiative. We have a partnership through that initiative with a math coach. We've had learning labs in our district where we go in and observe one of our actual teachers with our actual students in learning lab model. scenario and have great, robust discussions about strategies that we see and how to replicate those across the district. The other piece with this that I would like to mention is what we're calling the big three, and just really trying to have kind of alongside all of the great detail, kind of that back of the napkin, like what are we hanging our hats on this year? And those big three items are a commitment to at least 60 minutes of math instruction every day in our elementary school, knowing that our middle school has a very structured schedule. And that their time for math is the period allotted for math, but they're also doubling down on that often in flex time. So just really making sure that we're putting the time necessary into math improvement. Academic conversations, this is the second of the big three. That really revolves around the work of Jeff SUESD and making sure that the way students process verbally what they're learning in math has a real foundation to it, meaning that, you know, our teachers don't just say turn and talk and then whatever the conversation is among students, it is what it is. No, that academic conversation is framed in a way that produces meaningful dialogue. And also numbered talks is a real specific tool that's used to make sure that good, strong academic conversations are happening student to student. And then also a focus on math fluency, and the idea being that while our main goal is critical thinking with math and being able to explore innovative, creative approaches to math, there still is that strong foundation of knowing our facts that we're not letting go of, and we'll do so in a very positive way to increase student math fluency. The second long-range goal is around safety in our schools, and specifically safety for students as they navigate adolescence. So we all remember that challenging time of life. And then you throw in nowadays social media, bicycles that go up to 30 miles an hour. There's lots of new layers amongst all the old challenges of adolescence. And so we always just want to be mindful of how we can best support our students and families through that period of life. So of course, for us, that's our wonderful middle school at New Brighton, and just taking a look at the different strategies that we're using and working with our community partners on these ideas of safe social media navigation, safe e-bike navigation, and just all around making sure that our students feel as safe and confident at school as they can. Long-range goal 3 is to address employee satisfaction in SUESD. And while we do lots of different surveys around specific areas such as what do we need to be able to improve math instruction, the employee satisfaction piece is a bit more global than that. And our 187 or so employees in the district who do all the hard work every day for our families and students, how do they feel about being a member of this organization? What are we doing well? And identify areas where we can improve. The goal for community partnerships is to foster positive relations. It's a key part of my job, obviously, with all the different agencies and partners that we work with, to make sure that we're leveraging all the opportunities that are out there to bring more resources and stronger levels of learning to our students and families. And finally, goal for governance team unity is to really work amongst our team in establishing norms of collaboration and ensuring that messages come from this team as a whole. For example, recently, our board president shared a message in our weekly SoCal Scoop, and just make sure that there's avenues of communication, not just from me, but from the board trustees as well. And that is a really brief overview of our goals, and we'll continue to monitor those regularly.
Great. Thank you so much. Any questions or comments from the board? No. All right. 8D, discussion regarding Sue's workplace violence prevention program. Sorry, anything on email? I forgot.
There was nothing on email.
Okay. Okay. All right. 8D, workplace violence prevention program.
Thank you. Sandy and I tag team on this. So this is to be in compliance with Senate Bill 553, which is a new California law which requires school districts to have a written plan for preventing and responding to workplace violence, to work together to keep the school safe. Luckily, Cal OSHA did provide us with a template, which we used. Some key parts of this was to make sure there's clear steps for reporting threats, aggressive behavior, and unsafe situations. There's regular training for employees on how to recognize, prevent, and respond to potential violence, open communication and opportunities for staff input to improve safety. And there's a strong retaliation policy to protect anyone who does report concerns. And coordination with law enforcement and first responders during emergencies. Those are just some of the key points to the plan. And again, it aligns pretty much with what the district's vision and view of workplace violence was. However, now it's required to have a policy in place, which is what this is.
Great. Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board?
Maybe one I just thought of, which is, and of course, it's very, very important. We have one in my workplace. We have them at many workplaces, of course. And it pertains to employees. Would board members count as that? Like if a board member got, a threatening communication or something really that created an unsafe work environment, does it? I don't know, do we fall under the definition of employees?
No.
Yeah.
I don't, we're not.
Yeah.
I would say, oops, sorry.
Well, I mean, we can research that technically, but what I would say is that it's to keep everybody who is involved in the workings of a school district. That is the environment,
Yeah.
and you are definitely part of that environment, so.
That's right.
I'm not participating in problems here. It just made me think, does this pertain, right?
Yeah.
Because in my workplace, if something happens, you really want to make sure you're reporting it
Yeah.
the correct way. So
Yeah.
just so that we know if we have responsibilities around.
Yeah.
That.
I would say in my interpretation, definitely yes.
But the policy itself does say appointed or elected official in that list.
And I was gonna say the workplace, I believe encompasses.
Oh, got you, Sarah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good clarification.
All right, if there's nothing else, anything in the room or on email?
Nothing on email.
Okay. Discussion regarding board policy 6141.2, recognition of religious beliefs and customs.
All right, well, thank you. This board policy comes to you from a change in a new court decision, and that's the Mahmood versus Taylor decision. And I know that our superintendent has talked about this with the board and how this relates to our school district, but CSBA has also created some language to help us to understand and satisfy the interest of both that new court decision and the position of schools and school districts in California. And so while the decision is around the First Amendment and really focuses on some specific LGBTQ questions in storybooks and opt-out scenarios, the board policy as written, if you go into the board policy, the areas of red mostly relate to religious beliefs as specified kind of in the title of it, and broadens the scope of the teacher's responsibility to ensure that instruction about religion is not to promote or denigrate it, and to not have students perform it or coerce students into prayer. The use of religious symbols are to be temporary in nature. Classroom methods of instruction about religion shall pertain to the instruction itself. For example, how religion may be taught in the middle school because that's part of the history and social sciences curriculum. And then kind of finally at the end talks about the requirement of a school district to have opt-out options for parents if the instructional materials that are used are religious or LGBTQ in nature. So these are ways for parents to know that they have access to an opt-out mechanism, but also to kind of influence some conversations with teachers about what is okay and not okay within the classroom environment.
All right. Oh, yeah, thanks for that. Any questions or comments?
How would so do they have a letter that it, I guess I'm curious how it's gonna work. Like if a teacher is talking about, I don't know, Christianity in Middle Ages or something like that, would they then send a letter home, or any religion? I'm not, or
Thank you.
LGBTQ, would they then send a letter home to every kid in class, giving
No.
the parents an option to opt out?
No, thank you for clarifying, because this really is, it's a very new court decision. So if it's in the context, if religion is in the context and pertinent to the instruction, so let's say, for example, the one that I gave, where it's, I'm teaching about one of the empires, and there's some religion that's associated with one of the empires in the mid-century. That that's in our textbooks. That's part of what parents can see that we already have. If there's an additional book that is being used as part of the formalized instruction that goes home, let's say it's a reader that goes along with the instruction, that's when a parent could say, you know what, I really don't want my child to read this for religious reasons. One of the books that has been used as an example is The Giver, where there have been families who have felt that that was against some of their religious beliefs. If that's the case, the formal mechanism is just to write a letter to the teacher and the school to say we're opting out of this, and to have a secondary opportunity or option for the child. But what we aren't doing in our district or any other district in the state of California, because it's against California legislation, is we don't ban books. And so this provides, under this new court decision, the parents the ability to say that one violates our religious beliefs.
How would the parents know that? If, like, do we provide parents with content or a summary of books? And I'm not super familiar with The Giver, so I don't know about that one in particular, but a book, I guess, along whatever lines you're referring to. How would a parent know the content of the book that his student is gonna have access to or be exposed to? And then how would they then opt out if they don't even know that their student is gonna be exposed to that, their kid?
Yeah, I mean, typically at our middle schools specifically, there's like a syllabus. There's, all of the lessons and all of the assignments are on Google Classroom. Most of our parents are very in touch with our Infinite Campus and Google Classroom systems, because they do want to know what their students are doing. At the elementary, it doesn't come up that often. There is not anything that's used in terms of primary instructional materials that would violate California legislation or this most recent court decision. So that's not going to come up very often. I think it is really just for us protection from CSBA to say, we're not going to be promoting or coercing students one way or another on any, specific or given ideal. And we're going to allow you to practice yours.
So it's essentially on the onus of the parents to have, be involved in what their children's assignments are, to then weigh in and say, we're not putting any kind of responsibility on teachers to raise things to parents.
The only thing that we do in our district is that we run our curricular kind of recommendations off of Common Sense Media overviews about what is specific to appropriateness for a grade level. But for each and every family, we don't know the depth of their religious beliefs. We don't know the depth of, we don't ask, that we're not allowed to ask. And so a teacher would never be able to respond to every student or family's, profound belief system based on that. That-
Any other questions or comments?
No, that was gonna be my same question, was just how does it all work, that last paragraph, so thanks
Yeah.
for.
Yeah, when I was reading it, yeah, because I was a parent, no.
Yeah.
You know,
Does it change something in the information that goes out to parents at the beginning of the year in terms of?
It doesn't change our practice any. I think if we were a school district whose practice was not to publish our assignments or our curriculum or our syllabus online, it might change our practice. But because ever since COVID happened, surprisingly, those Google Classrooms have stayed open, they've stayed very visible, and they've stayed very up to date. So it's not a change in practice for us per se, but it is cautionary for those districts who may not have practices like that.
what about books in the library where it's not specific?
It only really relates to direct instruction or like primary curriculum.
All right. Any other questions or comments from the board?
Nope, not for me.
Nope.
Nothing on email.
Nothing on email, nothing in the room. All right. Thank you so much, Jessica.
Thank you.
Discussion regarding board policy 6145.2 athletic competition.
This one is also me, and this board policy 6145.2 is related to athletic competitions and specifically the new law AB 3074. It was actually new in 2024, but it is fairly long in terms of its like status description, but the actual changes are fairly brief. And those are really specific to districts that are advertising or promoting the use of sports teams or upcoming sports teams specific to Native American terms in derogatory manner. So these can include things like school mascots that have been, I mean, they name a few: Apaches, Big Reds, Braves, and those things. That would be under this new athletic competition policy unlawful. And we do not happen to have any unlawful or derogatory Native American terms used in our school district to date. But it is a policy that is recommended in case we should have a new school or a change of mascot in a school to not include any Native American term in a derogatory manner.
All right.
We're
Any,
right in the middle of Native
Yeah.
American month,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
coincides nicely.
any questions or comments from the board?
Yeah, I mean, I mean Redskins, but always, surprised me that schools name themselves like Vikings, because those guys weren't really nice people either, and anyways, that's but there's all sorts of names that are surprising that, schools have.
There was
Certain-
some, oh, sorry.
Certainly, and we know locally there, are questions about lots of our mascot and team names. This one is specific to Native American terms, and it has been highly promoted by our Native American populations, which I think is great. Every person and advocacy group has the opportunity to make changes. And when necessary, they do, and CSBA recognizes that and makes those recommendations to us, and we in turn make those choices as well.
I was just gonna say, aside from that important update, there was like a little wordsmithing that was done in the sportsmanship section, and just reading that section, it's great. I mean, it's just kind of expanding on like that everyone involved in the athletic program, will also teach, enforce, advocate, and model the core principles of trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, good citizenship. And I like that language, and it just really made me reflect back on our athletic program at New Brighton. And how, how wonderful it is like that. That's something that obviously like already has happened. And it's lovely when you see updated language that like, yep, well, we're a model for that. And, my own kids didn't get involved in the sports program in New Brighton, aside from the PE department, of course, but that is like just one of those things I do hear about so often from parents, is how meaningful it is for their kids, and the like the high value on good sportsmanship. So I just wanted to give a little shout out about that.
Also,
Amanda, thank you for saying that. And I really want to say that it used to be included because of CIF and CIF championships, but really it has to be modeled as early on as possible by everyone involved. And I would agree 110% that our teams at our schools, specifically New Brighton, demonstrate that on a daily basis.
Thank you. All right, thank you for that. Flip the page. Discussion regarding board policies around temporary athletic coaches.
right, so, want to give credit where credit's due. Sandy did all the hard work on this one. I'll present it. Sandy, if you want to add anything, feel free. And so this one ties in very nicely with the previous one. I bet Jen did that on purpose, so it all flows nice and smooth. So, but to the point that was made, athletic coaches play a vital role. I remember not too long ago when our championship soccer team came in, and the coach, you could just feel the respect that was garnered from that coach and how meaningful their existence in those students' lives was. So this is very important to keep up to date and make sure that when we're hiring these really important people in kids' lives, that it's all according to protocol. And so this policy updates just kind of the definition around what well-trained coaches are and qualifications, catches up to current law, which includes training on defibrillators to help keep students safe. And you will also notice that there's 3 separate versions of this policy. This is one of those personnel policies that repeats itself for 3 different categories of work: certificated, classified, and administrative, but it's really one policy repeated 3 times under a different number for those 3 different work groups. And so just for all the very reasons we said before, the importance of athletics and proper implementation of an athletic program, nobody's more important than that than the coach. And this policy just ensures that we're hiring the right kind of folks and using the right protocols.
And is there a background check on the person?
Yes, always.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
and that's in the policy.
Yes, as part of all the regulations.
Yeah, okay. Other questions or comments?
Something on email.
All right, if there's no questions or comments. Okay, nothing on,
Maybe we'll
nothing
get
on
on
here.
that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Discussion regarding board policy 5145.3, non-discrimination and harassment.
Yeah, another obviously super important one. So everything around Title IX for the last period of time has been something that has been in flux. We'll say it like that, right? And so school districts were, left after recent changes to, which reverted back to previous guidance. Limbo is probably too strong a word, but there was definitely some feeling of we had, progressed in our implementation of Title IX to one degree, and then trying to understand what some of the rollbacks, how they impacted school districts. And so as you will see from the status section of the memo, our direction clarified that the Office of Civil Rights will enforce Title IX based on regulations as they existed prior to August 1st, 2024. That's really the thrust of this change. And you will see lots of changes, some kind of whole paragraphs, just given, when there's a number of changes in a paragraph at some point, it makes more sense just to strike through it all and put the new paragraph. So you'll see a lot of red on these, really identifying all the ways that we support protected classes and making sure that they're not discriminated or harassed.
All right, any questions or comments from the board? No? All right, anything on email?
Nothing on email.
All right.
Okay.
Discussion regarding board policy 5145.7, sexual harassment.
very connected, as you can tell by even the numbers of the policy, just the decimal point off. But this one is around similar vein, but specifically for the topic of sexual harassment. Yeah. Identifying that date of August of 2024 as the point we go back to, and all of the updates accordingly to make sure that nobody in our district is the subject of sexual harassment.
All right, any questions or comments from the board?
Who's our Title IX coordinator?
Brissa Lumos, Director of Student Services.
Okay.
All right, anything else? No? All right, sounds good. So those were just discussion items. Any correspondence? And actually future agenda items. There's two on my mind. One, Amanda, you were saying we were gonna have, the COE woman that you talked with.
Yeah,
We're inviting her to a future meeting to.
Yeah.
Stacy Kyle.
Stacy Kyle.
Yeah.
I forgot her name.
Fine, it's fine.
I think you have to say person.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yes.
As a future agenda item.
It's a great one, yes.
Yes.
I will reach out to her and find a
Okay.
time where she'd let them talk to us.
And-
All right,
And she was perfectly happy for it to be a real short, doesn't need to be a big fancy presentation.
Yeah.
but
okay,
A quick hello and summary of what COE does versus what we do.
wonderful. Something else that I would like to ask to put on a future agenda item is, we've looked at it a little bit, but our TKK schedules with, the timing and care after, just that, we sometimes lose families to not being able to provide that, childcare for the full day. So they look for options that offer care after TK or K, and we don't provide that. So just, as we're diving into this idea about, attracting families and finances with all our schools, I would like to see, possible ways that we might, add care into that day for the TKKs to attract families like other schools can offer. Does that?
Can I ask you, what did you mean by the timing? Like, are you just talking about after school care? Are you talking about like when TK starts?
Yeah, just
Some
that
families
it's
get
a
into that.
short day, and it's a short day. Some families can't. They look for schools that offer
Right.
either care options or longer days, just to see what would that cost us. I mean, it would cost us staffing, or I don't know about care, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
good, great question, and just clarification, so I make sure to bring back the right information. The care piece, as you alluded, somewhat out of our control, given that our childcare partners are third-party agencies and have to look at their own finances and everything. So what I'm hearing, what's under our control that you would like to bring back is just a view of the staggered schedule. That's kind of the part that's different in our district, is that staggered schedule to allow small group instruction, to bring that back and have a discussion about the pros and cons of the staggered schedule. Did I capture that right?
we've looked at the staggered schedule.
Okay.
In order to be able to capture those families that can't work with that small schedule.
We provide.
So
Yeah,
in
Or yeah, or I mean, they don't have a full day just because they're so little. But if that yeah. What would that look like if we were able to offer care to try to capture some of those families?
Right.
I think
For
that's
in-house for our staff,
in-house, yeah,
not through a third party.
yeah. And do you think that the different aligned timing of the schedule loses families? Like if it's a 9:30 start, I mean, maybe you'd offer care in the morning until they started at 9:30? You'd have a sandwich of care around the day?
Try to roll that into this future item.
If we still need to have that staggered schedule, yeah.
I think that is one of the things we heard from those families that came
was that the late start was hard for them because of that morning coverage. So I would agree that if we were to look at care, it should be both that before care and after care.
I think I got it.
Okay, all right, if, yes,
Sorry.
yeah,
It would be interesting if it's easy to get the information and I don't, doesn't make a difference to me whether it's a Board Friday update or an agenda, but
Mhm.
just like a reminder of, I don't know, past 8 or 10 years, like what our schedules, like you know, like, okay, kids, like some of my kids had full day kindergarten, some of them we didn't offer it, just like what we were able to offer in terms of the timing of the school day for
Okay.
TK and kinder, if that's easy data to grab, I'd be interested in that historical view.
Sure.
Thank you.
all right.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody, for a great meeting. May I have a motion of adjournment?
Okay, I'll make the motion.
All right, a second.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Boy, we really didn't have very many votes on this meeting, did we?
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Jessica. Thanks.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you. Thanks for